You know what's really funny? I went through a sales process for a company I was buying something for. I was buying something from them. And the
Yeah.
way that they handled it was such a big lesson for me because I was like taken aback by something that they did. And then I said, I've done that.
Oh, right.
And
You had a
so
light bulb moment.
I was like, oh my God, I will never do that again. Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. Once again, it is so great to be here, and I have an amazing guest for you today. I'd love to introduce you to Melissa Morris. Now, know this. You're going to hear something about her on her website, I'm sure, and her bio. But Melissa, first of all, welcome. But I'd love for you to share with us something we're not going to read in your bio or not going to learn about you on social or on your website.
Yeah. So I went to 3 7th grades,
Wow,
3
tell me
different schools
more.
for 7th grade.
I gotta hear more. Please say more about that.
Yes, it was not because I was kicked out or expelled.
No.
So let's go ahead and put that to rest. I am what many would refer to as a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force. So while we didn't move as many as some do, there was a year where we did a lot of moving, and part of that was a move to Florida. They were in the midst of a hurricane, so we were staying somewhere else. And then, yeah, there I was, 3 different schools for 7th grade.
Oh, I completely understand that I'm a military brat as well.
Oh, you feel me
However,
then?
yeah, I do. My dad was in the Army. The only reason I can't resonate as much is because my parents had me in their 40s. So they were
Okay.
on the downside of their careers. And my dad was at his last duty station when they had me. So my brothers and sisters went all over the world. I went
Oh.
to Prairie View, Texas. That's the only place. And that's because he was the ROTC instructor at the university there for his last duty station.
Oh,
So
that's
that's all I got to see of the
funny.
world as far as my
That was
army.
it. Wow. You really went big time, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Of all the places we could have gone, Prairie View,
Makes
Texas, which I'm not complaining. I had some good times there, so I can recall from my 9-year-old mind.
sure.
But nevertheless, from one Army brat or military brat to another, I completely understand that part for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, Melissa, tell us a little bit about who you serve, what you do, all the things about you.
Yeah, I help multi-6-figure business owners scale to the next level. Often what happens is as a agency and business is growing through multi-six figures, they start to hit many roadblocks. The biggest which is they become the bottleneck in the business, and it gets very difficult to truly scale in a way that feels sustainable. So I have a top framework and I work with them to get that implemented so that we can get them growing to 1 million and beyond.
I love that. I've heard so many times people say, and I've been there in the sense of what got you to 6 figures will not get you to 7 figures. How do you describe that? What are the things or the gaps that people find that really stall them from going to that next level?
Yeah, I would say there's a few different ways it shows up, but a lot of times it's surrounding team.
Hmm.
Delegating starts to get very, very difficult, and they're not really sure why. So they start asking themselves, am I just not good at teaching? Is this the correct person? They'll start bouncing around and getting different tools and softwares. They start to blame their tools and their softwares, and they just really have a hard time navigating that. And just like what you were saying, like what will get you to, and through those early 6 figures is just not going to get you to 1 million.
Hmm.
That's often the same way with how you're running your team. You just can't continue as the business owner to have your fingers in everything and keep track of everything and think that you're going to get past, $500,000.
Oh my God. Well, you're speaking to quite a few people who understand what that feels like. What are some of the things that what are the signs that a company needs to call someone like you? What would they be experiencing?
Being the bottleneck, the CEO, the business owner is often stuck in the weeds, and they're often feeling like growth is not due to a lack of need in the area or even a lack of sales. They just don't have time to focus. They don't have time to focus on business development and actually growing the business. What that starts to look like quite practically is they're getting pulled back into client meetings because nobody's really sure what's going on. Their team is coming to them. How do I do this? This is due. And pretty much you've got everybody looking at you saying, okay, what's next, boss? And that just makes it really hard for you to focus on actually taking the business to the next level when you keep getting pulled back in and you're stuck, adjusting tasks in Asana and fixing a slide deck at 11 o'clock at night because nobody knew it was due or nobody did it correctly. So if you find you keep getting pulled back into work you thought was delegated and thought was getting handled, that's probably one of the biggest red flags.
Wow, this is such a good conversation because all of what you said I've experienced, by the way. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are going, yep, I understand that. But many times when you're the bottleneck, I've heard the phrase that when you're the picture, you can't see the frame, right? And so frequently you don't know that you are the bottleneck. What are some of the initial things when we're beginning to see, the things that you just shared with us? How do we basically have that eye-opening moment of, oh man, it's me? And then how do we remove ourselves? Because at the end of the day, as the business owner, frequently we think, well, it's got to get done, right? My name is the one on the website there, right? And it has to happen. How do we practically go from being the bottleneck to getting to that place where we're hearing what you're saying and actually saying, yes, I'm ready to make that change?
Yeah, so there's definitely an opportunity to get really clear. Clarity is a very powerful thing. So oftentimes when we start working with an agency, it's similar to what you're saying. They're like, I'm just not really sure why this keep coming back to me. I'm not really sure why we're not moving through to the next level. But they also like their gut instinct is telling them sometimes, like the team says they're really busy, but I just think they should be able to handle more. I really think I should be delegating this. I thought I was really clear, but I guess I'm not being really clear about what is their responsibility versus my responsibility. And so there is a lot of confusion. And so oftentimes what I encourage them to do is we're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to encourage them to start tracking their time and looking at time metrics because that is often pure gold when you're trying to figure out what is going on. They are often shocked to see how much time they are actually spending on client work. How many meetings they're in often is very eye-opening to them. How many times they're getting pulled back. So that's just hard data you really can't dispute. And then similarly, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look inside their project management tool. And I'm going to say, okay, well, how many tasks are assigned to you and how many tasks are assigned to, Susie Q over here or John Doe over here. Oh, why do they have so many? Oh, why are those overdue? Oh, why that's not done. So we really try and start looking at some true data points, again, namely your time tracking data and digging into your project management tool, because then that really starts to shine a light on inefficiencies that are going on in the business and the agency. And then through that, we start getting a lot of clarity and then can start making a plan to actually get them out of the day-to-day.
Oh, wow. That's so good. I think when I think about it from a sales perspective, Melissa, I also see where a lot of owners are still primarily doing the sales for their company. And I think, it's a good thing. But when does that become problematic? And when do you see they need to step away from doing all the sales and actually delegate that part of their business, especially if they're really good at it and they're the primary breadwinner for the organization?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it can vary a little bit. And one thing I always like to point out at this point of the conversation too, when this starts to come up, is your account managers and your client-facing team members should always be selling.
True.
So one of the P's in my top framework is pipeline. And I refer to your pipeline as your previous, your current, and your future clients. Because I think so many times people forget that they should always be nurturing, cultivating, and selling to their current clients. Are there opportunities to upsell them into an additional package? Can you already start planting seeds about what an ongoing engagement looks like if you're only in project work? And your account manager should not only be thinking about that, they should really have the tools and abilities to start planting those seeds early on so that when a renewal comes up, that client already knows they're signing on again. If that client has an additional need, they already know you're the company that they're going to hire. So I think that's actually a really great first start, is to get your account managers selling to your current clients and keeping them on, focusing on retention and upsells.
Wonderful. I have found that when clients come to me and they're really like, I can't get my team to sell as well as I do, so I just tend to keep it. I find that there's a problem with trust, where they're really not trusting, number one, themselves, because they're not trusting that they've taught and, prepared their people well enough to be able to take it on. And then there's often not trusting the person to be able to manage it and giving them the grace that they need to actually grow into the position. Do you find that there are any other things that prevent people from being able to release or delegate the things that they need to be releasing so that they can take their business to 7 figures and beyond?
So I definitely see trust showing up even outside of the sales process. So I would speak to that for just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it is in truly stepping back and letting account managers and team handle client concerns, hiccups, scope, all those sort of things. And so one of the things I always make sure that we are including when we're working with agencies are things like a client communication best practices. I think it's easy to start focusing on documentation and SOPs in terms of point here and click here, and this is how you fill out this report, and this is how you update this spreadsheet. But what we forget to train our team on, whether it is through client delivery or in terms of sales, is how we show up, our values, our integrity. How often are we following up with clients? How are we sharing our beliefs? How are we interacting with them? And these are really important skills. And that's where business owners start to get really prickly, like, oh, they're not going to say this thing in the way that I'm going to say it. Well, they probably aren't, but you could teach them, you could coach them, you could show them this is how we engage with our clients and this is how we work with them. So I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle for building trust and making sure. The second thing I see, we're talking about trust, but another reason they really have a difficult time letting go of control is oftentimes their offers are still very bespoke and very customized to their clients.
Yeah.
And if you really want to, particularly as you're moving through those multi-six figures, what we usually see is an agency owner has this group of legacy clients and they're on the best friend discount and they're getting services that we kind of don't really offer anymore. But then we also have these clients we're working towards and we're onboarding them and they're more in alignment with what we're looking for. But we're still often making concessions and giving this report versus that report. And you really need to work to standardize and get towards what you would call a productized service offering. And that's when it gets really, really easy to delegate.
Oh my God, you just said so many great things right now, because I know you're right, because I have clients who have the same concerns where no one can take it over because no one knows all of the intricacies of what they've offered to a certain person. And then, this, but you can do it, but then you can upgrade this. There's all of these various things that we add on thinking we're serving or pleasing our clients, realizing that we're actually stalling our business and making it very difficult for someone to be able to duplicate what we've done. So that's such good information. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. As it pertains to the way that you draw in clients, attract clients to your business, I know for certain that building relationships is art, right? There's definitely an art to it. What is your go-to move? What is the thing that's different about you, Melissa, that really causes people to connect with you and build those long-term relationships that may end up in new business and may end up in, referrals or something different, but nevertheless, there's a long-term relationship built?
Yeah, I'm a massive extrovert for anybody who may not be picking up on that. And it's funny, I was working with a coach years ago and she's like, Melissa, just go make friends. Like, you're just really good at talking and connecting with people. And I just truly am very curious. I'm a very curious person. So one, I think that makes me very good at the work I do when I'm working with people and we're trying to uncover, why they're struggling to scale, why the team is struggling, like what's going on there. I'm very curious and I work hard to uncover and find those answers. And I think that curiosity lends itself really well to collaborations and connecting with other individuals because I truly want to know everything about them. I want to hear what's going on with them. I want to follow up with them. I want to ask more questions. And so I think that skill of curiosity actually makes me good at connecting with people because I just really want to know what they're thinking.
Wow, that's so great, because The average person that's not an extrovert, they may be curious, but they're not going to act on their curiosity. They're just going to, kind of hope someone will tell them all the things. But I love that you're saying, if we can just go make friends, and then just trust that the natural connections, the people that we're designed to work with, it's going to happen, right? It's actually absolutely going to happen. I feel the exact same way. Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales, and so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. For all of us in business, we have really big seasons, low seasons, and all the things in between as entrepreneurs, as business owners. What keeps you focused and in the game when rejection hits hard?
Yeah. So what I like to do is always come back to data. I really like to stick to facts and situations where, maybe I am experiencing rejection or, a series of discovery calls that didn't go quite as I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I really come back to, well, was this individual truly in alignment? Were they actually an ideal client, or were they somebody I probably really shouldn't have been in a sales conversation with anyway? What feedback did they provide to me? How can I use that for the future? How can I use that moving forward? I also track a lot of different KPIs within agency authority as well. So I also notice just kind of regular seasonality where people are more tire kicking and exploring. And then when they start or feeling ready, over the summer, it starts to get quiet. We've kind of got some tire kickers. And then as we start moving in towards the end of the year, we're getting that, we really want to be ready to start next year strong energy. And that's when conversions start happening faster. So I really just try and lean back into sales data that I have. What are those conversion rates, and what are some of the natural ebbs and flows that our agency goes through?
I love that so much. If you could bottle up the secret to success for the people that you've worked with and have had massive success, for the people that come to you that maybe have not had that success yet, what's that one game-changing thing that you would say helps the average entrepreneur that you all work with, the agencies that you all work with?
They're very coachable. I think anybody who is willing to say, I'm open to ideas and I'm going to try them and I'm going to go at them with an open mind, those are the people who I always see really making massive success. Versus the ones where maybe they're getting advice and feedback and you're getting a lot of pushback of, well, we've tried that before. Well, I don't think that would work for our agency. I'm not really sure that's going to work for our business. Those individuals tend to struggle more to really break through versus someone who's a little more open to exploring new ideas or revisiting old ideas. You tried it 2 years ago. Well, let's try it again. And we're going to do it a little bit different this time. That always makes a big difference.
It definitely does. I despise talking to someone and they go, yeah, we've already tried that. And I'm like, that tells me you're completely closed down to pretty much any ideas then, in all honesty.
Yes, exactly.
For certain. So this is a two-part question. What would you say was a time where you had, whether it was a discovery call or someone just reached out to you and it seemed like it was just a brilliant sales conversation and everything just clicked, it worked out perfectly. Give me one example of that, but then I also want you to give me an example of what you would consider your biggest sales flop. A time where you probably asked the wrong questions, didn't listen properly, or said the wrong things, or whatever it might be for you. Biggest success, biggest flop.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. The success one I might have to come back to because the flop's already coming to mind.
Okay.
And what happened is a woman, I was on a sales call with her and I was moving too fast for her. I was really excited about all the potential I saw in her business. I was feeling really pumped about all the things we could get done for her. And I just was not meeting her where she was at. She was really overwhelmed. She was feeling really stuck in the weeds of her business and she was really struggling. And so to hear all that I'm proposing just daunted her and she overwhelmed. And I realized as it's, coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I wish I could just take all of this back in and just slow it down for her, because instead of helping her, I think I just completely scared her with my own enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson learned, is to show up with more patience and make sure I'm really meeting people where they're at and helping them baby step through a process when they're in such a space of overwhelm. A good one, I feel like I'm also thinking of one where I remember she told me yes on the phone for this project we were going to do before I even told her the price. And I remember thinking, is she sure? Like, are we really going to do this? And I sent her the proposal and I sent her the information and she signed and paid instantly.
Yeah.
And I was really taken aback, but she really knew what she needed. It was a really big pain point for her. I was very clear on, we can solve your problem. This is how I'm going to solve it. And this is how we're going to get it done. This is how, like, it was just so in sync. I had just such a great solution for her problem that, yeah, she never even asked the price and she just signed and paid like instantly.
I love that. I love when you like step off a stage and someone goes, I don't care what it costs, send me an invoice. It's like, those are great. But there's also those times like you know, what's really funny? I went through a sales process for a company I was buying something from them. And the way that they handled it was such a big lesson for me because I was like taken aback by something that they did. And then I said, I've done that.
Right, you had a light bulb moment.
I was like, oh my God, I will never do that again because I hadn't felt it on the other side. And so my sales flop was my realization of, oh my God, I can't imagine. I would have never thought it comes across that way or it could come across that way. Yeah. And so it was a big lesson for me. And I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's such a hard but great way to learn a lesson, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, whatever it takes, I'm here for it. So Melissa, who would you say you've had to become to experience the level of success that you currently experience and help the amount of people that you've helped?
I've had to learn to ask for help, which was very difficult for me. When I first started my business, I very much was sitting in this mindset of I have to figure it all out by myself. I have to do it all by myself, or it's not my business. It's not my success. It's someone else's. And I spent probably the first couple of years in business like that. And it was real hard. Wow. And then somewhere I started to shift and I thought, I'm just going to have to ask for help. And when I enlist a coach, when I get support where I need it, how quickly I move through bottlenecks and challenges and how much more success I find on the other side. I just go back and kick myself. I'm like, why didn't you just start? Because why was this so hard for you? Yeah. But that's been tough for me.
I can completely relate. And it's funny as you say that, I'm like, there's an area, I'm like, shoot, I just need to ask for help. Yeah, so Thank you for that. Thanks for helping me out with that answer.
We're going to get through this together, Tish.
We are definitely going to get through it together. Would you describe to us, who would you consider your dream client? Who do you love working with?
Yeah, I work with a lot of female agency owners, and these women they're just so passionate about their work. And unlike me, they recognize, I just need to ask for help. I can move through this faster. And they want to make a big difference. They want to care. They want to give really great support and care to their clients. They want to give a ton of support and take care of their team and do big things in the world. And I want to help them, right? And what the other thing I really love about my clients is they're big on boundaries, right? They've started their business because they want work-life balance. And then unfortunately, they often find themselves in overwhelm and thinking like, what am I doing here? Why? I didn't want this. I wanted more space. I wanted more breathing room. And so to be able to support them and getting that back again so that they can serve their clients and make a bigger impact just makes me so happy.
I love that. So I'm going to ask you a question that you probably haven't heard because it seems like it's so, second nature for those of us who are in business. But would you describe, when we say agency's in my business name, so I get it, but often people don't always understand what's the difference between what we would consider a traditional small business or an agency. Can you give some clarity around that for those who might not be clear?
Yeah, that is a good question. So an agency for me are people who are teaching others to provide a service to a client. So these are, and it's a little bit different than someone who's maybe a coach, who they are serving one-to-many. Their business model has its own obstacles and challenges, but it's often quite different than somebody who is having to manage a team and account for a designer, a copywriter, maybe an ads manager. there's extra layers of stickiness when you're trying to figure out how much you're paying them versus how much you're charging your client, and who does the strategic work and who does the support work, and how do I teach them to do the work that I do in the way that I want it done. So it's done for you services that usually involve, at least 2 or 3 people, and in that client delivery, that's usually what I'm referring to when I say an agency.
Wow. How did you end up in this world? What brought you into not only your business, but just, helping people the way that you help them overall?
So I worked in ad agencies for a number of years. I actually got my bachelor's degree in advertising. I worked in ad agencies. And years ago, when I started my business, I was doing advertising and marketing consulting work. And through working with some of the businesses I was with, when I was working as a contractor with others, I started to realize that so many people who are starting their own business, they start because they're good at the trade, right? Like they're good at websites, they're good at ads, they're good at whatever, and they start to grow and they start to build an agency. But not all of them have actually worked in an agency before. Mm-hmm. And like I was talking to you before, like there's some different layers to it, right? Than and again, every business has its own things, but it has these own nuances. And me having this agency experience, and I worked at boutique agencies that had 8 or 10 employees. I also worked at a much larger agency that had 60 and 80 employees. So I really got to see behind the curtain of what it was like to work in agencies, and through different sizes. You wear a lot of hats, particularly in those boutique agencies. So I was doing a lot of different things in support of that agency. And so I started shifting gears and, helping agency owners break through because of my just previous experience working in them.
Wow. Well, as we're wrapping up, Melissa, tell me, if you would, what would you consider your best sales strategy?
We already kind of touched on it. It's making friends. I just really love to connect with people. And, Tish, I've heard you say this before too, like, I don't want to go make $1 million. I'm going to go help 1 million people. Yeah. And that really is like a mindset I have tried to adopt myself, right? I want to go make friends. I want to meet people. I just want to show up and support them and cheerlead for them and be curious and know what's going on with them. And I have found that just opens the door for collaborations and connections and referrals and wonderful clients.
Well, when we're in the same room, I need a high five from you, because that's my heart. Totally my heart. I love that answer so much. Well, we're out of time. Melissa, tell everybody how they can connect with you, and if there's anything that you want to share with them.
Yeah, so I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. So if you want to, you can find me over there at Melissa V. Morris. And I also have a quiz. So if you're listening to this and wondering if maybe you're the bottleneck, you're not really sure why, maybe you've got some team things and you're thinking, Melissa, some things you're saying are really resonating with me, go over to youragencyauthority.com/quiz, and it will give you a lot of great insights with just a few questions answered.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here today. I really enjoyed our talk. We'll definitely have to do it again. Thank you for coming, Melissa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Well, you guys heard it. You heard some amazing tips of what you need to do, not only to get to the place of success that you currently are, obviously, but to take it to that next level. I would advise you to reach out to Melissa. She may be able to help you and put something into practice that you heard said today. I can't wait to see you back here next week, same time. See you then. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.